right now. The Florida Democrat, you know quite well, House Oversight Committee member, but he holds the distinction as well as being a former Florida Director of Emergency Management, so he knows of what he speaks. Congressman, it's always good to see you. I'm sorry under these circumstances, sir, but how is Florida dealing with this? How are you dealing with this?
Well, thanks, Neil. Look, represent South Florida, live in South Florida, so we're on the East Coast.
Right.
We'll be fine, but my friends on the West Coast, here we are again, not just Helene from literally 2 weeks ago, but Ian as well. I mean, Hurricane Ian hit a little to the south of where this storm looks like it's going. You have everybody from Tampa Bay all the way down to Naples, Florida, paying attention. This storm seems to have done very similar things where it has ticked south and ticked south. And so hopefully everyone heeded the warnings. If they lived in flood zones A, B, or C and they were evacuated by their local emergency management directors, hopefully they listened. And so everyone still needs to pay attention. 60-mile wobble here, 60-mile wobble there can make a real big difference on impacts we'll see in the Tampa Bay or into Sarasota County. So I'm really worried. This is a very strong storm, and the wind field has expanded as well as it's gone through those eye replacements. Yeah, and I was looking, Congressman Owen, I have you on, that even where you are in the East Coast, it's not as if you won't have a lot to deal with yourself. There's certainly not as much as on the Gulf side, but you could be looking at 50, 60-mile-per-hour winds, a lot more rain, as if you guys need any more of that. So on that side of the state where you are, how are folks reacting to this? Well, look, people, here in Florida are well accustomed, right? So they've gone out, they've gotten the gasoline in their car, they've gotten their 7 days worth of supplies, which we used to be 3 days in Florida. We changed it to 7 when I was the director. So they've gotten their 7 days worth of supplies. Schools are canceled, businesses are closed. So people are paying attention. By the way, on that, I'm sorry, Congressman, I'm jumping on you. I wanted to be clear. Are all schools canceled throughout the state? I think I read that somewhere. That certainly all schools, colleges as well, are closed today and tomorrow at the very least. Is that right? Yeah, I don't believe it's closed throughout the state, but it's closed in a significant part of the state. I mean, when you're talking about closing schools, from Orlando south, I mean, you're talking about population-wise, that's, 2/3 of the state. Absolutely. But yeah, and so businesses are closed. I mean, we're already seeing tornadoes, in my county over here in Broward and other places. And so, people are paying attention, but I'm real worried about, the folks on the West Coast at the moment. They have really just gotten battered over the last 2 or 3 years with these hurricanes. There's a back and forth, and maybe you can help me with who's right on this, about whether FEMA is up to the test. Not the politics of it. It interests me very little. But whether it has the funds and ability to deal with this. What's the skinny on that, Congressman? Yeah, I agree with you, Neil. I'm not interested in the disaster politics either. As a former emergency management director, we have to tune that out. Here's the answer to that. The answer is the DRF, FEMA's Disaster Recovery Fund, which is what they use to respond and reimburse for these sort of events, had no money in it left in the 2024 budget. Okay, there was $10 billion put forward in the first CR that failed. And then when the second clean CR came forward, that $10 billion was taken out. However, they did put language in there that allowed FEMA to draw down their 2025 budget early, which gave them $20 billion to access. Now, $8 billion of that 20 is for a backlog of previous storms that people are still waiting to get their reimbursement. So they have $12 billion to play with, is my guess, in their response to both Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. So they have the funds to respond. If there's another hurricane, they probably won't have the funds to respond, and they probably also don't have the funds to deal with all of the reimbursement that cities and counties put out to respond and clean up during these disasters. So I'm worried about that reimbursement being slowed down. Cities and counties can't afford to have these millions of dollars out for longer periods of time. FEMA can expedite those funding, but I'm worried that obviously they have to watch the dollars because we still have a month left of hurricane season. What's also true is SBA is out of money, right? Those are the Small Business Administration. Right. They have community disaster loans that they give out to businesses so that when a community is impacted and there is no business or the business is destroyed, that family that owns that small business can make it through and rebuild. We knew they had no money when we left on break. I filed a bill to give the SBA $8 billion more to deal with Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. So that actually is going to be a problem. I'm worried about those community disaster loans not going out.
You know, I'm worried, tight for time here, but I'd be curious. Full disclosure, I have a little place in your wonderful state, love it. But the fact of the matter is, you got millions more like me from the north who descended on your beautiful state and know nothing about this, right? And they're not aware of the preparation and everything else like hardened Floridians are. And I'm just wondering, a lot of them are thinking, I came to this place for the sun and the lovely weather and the low taxes and all of that, and now I'm having higher homeowner insurance fees and higher condo fees. How are folks dealing with that?
Yeah, look, this is going to continue to break the homeowner insurance issue that we're having in this state. Yeah. You know, if you look at seniors specifically who live in senior communities that have, you know, HOAs or condominiums, you know, they have older buildings, community centers where the insurance has doubled. These folks can't have their HOA's fee go up because they're on fixed incomes. And so it's a real problem in this state. And it's not just going to be here. This is coming to other states. It's coming to Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas. It's going to come to the Gulf Coast. And when this becomes a national issue, it's going to require a national response. Really what we got to do is we got to figure out how we take the 1 in 1,000 year events, right? And we figure out a way where people don't have to worry about the reinsurance, where insurance companies don't have to worry about the reinsurance on those events, because that's really driving up the cost about 25%. The government's got to figure out how we can float some bonds, not add to the debt or deficit, right? Not do that,
right? But
figure out how the government can help. Now, I don't believe the government's always the solution, but in this instance, this is going to become an unaffordability issue.
Yeah, that's a good idea right there, what you mentioned about bonds and doing that. It's been done on other states for other projects. But, Congressman, it's always great having you. You're a calm adult in a crazy world, so we appreciate that. Be safe. Just be safe. And all your fellow Florida state residents.